He's writing under the name Richard Bachman. It's his only second book under a pseudonym. But it's so basic, you know, it puts people under incomprehensible pressure, and to see how they react in a human ways, in many ways reaffirming, you know, the resilience and the commitment and the camaraderie and the conflicts. It's That's where all the colors and the emotions come in. I'm just speechless. I mean, I've always been grateful just to be able to do what I love doing as a living.
Yeah.
That's enough for me. But when my wife told me, I thought, oh, I know what this means. I'm old.
No.
When you get the Lifetime Achievement Awards, that's when you know. But of course, I'm deeply honored and I'm very grateful. What I always do is I get the script, I read the script, then I get the book.
Okay.
I did that with The Wild Robot. I did it with The Life of Chuck. I did it with this. And like I say, it's minimalist in its writing. I mean, it's very accessible. And when I met Stephen King, I got to meet him, and yeah, I sat right next to him. I exercised every ounce of control in my body not to go fanboy on him. So I said, "How do you do?" And he looked up and he said, "The Major." It's so important. I can't tell people, when you watch things at home on the living room, you miss out on that audience experiences like no other. Whether it's a comedy that's making everybody laugh or something like this where everybody's holding their breath, the communal experience can't be duplicated anywhere. See it in a theater.
I am, yeah. I'm a longtime fan of his work. I had read this novel years and years ago. It crossed my desk, tried to get the rights, but somebody else kind of nabbed him, and so it was just always in the back of my head for 20 years. Luckily, never got made, and it just kind of came around maybe 2 years ago. But I always loved it. I loved the conceit. I loved the intensity. But I think what I always really loved was the sort of the heart of the story and the camaraderie of the boys and the brotherhood in the movie. The heart of it and the emotion of it that sort of plays against the intensity. I also really love, and especially with him, I love his stories that are really grounded and authentic. The Stand By Me's and the Shawshanks, and this fits in that world. And so, yeah, it's the perfect one. It was really interesting. It was a very unique experience because, you know, the moment they start to walk, they're walking for the entire movie, and which meant that we had to create a production that was constantly on the move every day. Everything's outside. There's no cover for weather, so we have to play with the weather. What it allowed us to do, which none of us had ever done before, was we actually got to shoot chronologically. Everything is usually shot out of order, but we did everything in order, which was fantastic for the actors, and to feel the sort of degradation in their bodies and their clothing and all of that. It was really a fascinating, very unique experience making this. It impacted in a lot of ways. One is just with the interaction with the actors, just talking to the characters and seeing how scenes take shape, what gets lost, what gets added, seeing the improvisation, seeing the feeling, and knowing what we're going into the next scene, how we're loaded up for the next scene. And then also by the end, you start to see how relationships have really sort of been formed and how they created, when usually you're having to guess about all that stuff when you make a movie. One of the great things was we tried to make this for a responsible budget, and Lionsgate was a great partner in that everybody was just trying to find the best actors for the roles. And David was actually the first person that we basically knew we were going to cast. He's one of the first people whose tapes I saw, and I mean, I knew this guy is going to be in this movie, but also seeing him do it gave me the confidence that the script was really working and the scenes were working and the feel was right. But, you know, casting him, Cooper, who I was a fan of since, you know, seeing Licorice Pizza, and of course I had worked with his father, and you know, the rest of the gang, and then, you know, Mark was great. Obviously, knowing him throughout his career and from when I was a kid watching Star Wars, which is insane. But it was, quite honestly, it was a lot of my decision in looking to him was because of his voice work that he's done, and that he doesn't always play characters like he's known for. That he has this wide range of abilities with his voice and changing the timbre and accents and dialects and all these kinds of things. And so that was really fun. Just because I think most of what I do, I mean, pretty much everything I do, I feel is quite immersive. And I think that, when you're immersed in this world and you're with these young men and you're in these landscapes and you're feeling the toll that this walk takes on everybody and you're seeing the intense moments, I mean, the more immersive it is, the more visceral the experience is. And, there's nothing like seeing it in a screen and with a good sound system, and especially, we just finished the mix of it, and with the Atmos mix is incredible, and the movie looks incredible. So the theaters are the way to go for this movie, not your iPhone. In the end, me and the boys ended up walking about the distance the characters do in the book. I think over the course of the shoot, we walked 330, 350 miles, something like that. So it was a lot. Yeah, we walked between, depending on the day, between 8 and 15 miles a day.
I wasn't familiar with the book itself, but obviously once I got it through, I quite quickly familiarised myself with this book of kind of brutality and what a government can do to a generation of kids, really. And Francis. It's kind of his passion project. He's made so many wonderful things, but this one in particular felt like he wanted to do something special, and if you get an opportunity like that, you can't say no. So yeah, Peter's interesting. He's quite mercurial, and he's a bit of a traveller. He's kind of seen a lot and done a lot, and he's a man had to gain a lot of weight to kind of keep muscle on, because he was just a man who uses his hands, but he loves a lot, and I think he sacrifices a lot, which is interesting. Oh, I mean, I definitely feel still quite young in my career in many ways, and when you get to work with people, I'm not trying to age them up, but they're legends, like Mark and Francis are just people who have really been veterans in like making movies. So you kind of look at them with a level of admiration, which was it was evident, except for when I needed to be McVrees, which was kind of a cut off from that quite quickly. I think Stephen King, as a novelist, has all of his films really are like cinematic history. We're thinking about Shawshank, Stand By Me, and the list goes on. He's such a cinematic influence. I think this particular movie absolutely embodies that. I think you've got to see this film in cinemas. You've got to experience what it's like to walk 500 miles and be brutalised. The cinematic element of this is just completely evident, and I think people really enjoy it in the screen. Yeah, it was a lot, but I like that. I like the challenge as an actor. We walked at least 15 miles every day, shooting every single scene, and we did it all in chronological order. On one side, that's a lot. On the other side, what a dream, what a treat to get your teeth stuck into something that feels meaty. I guess it's really, really cool. I mean, honestly, I'm a cinephile. I love this industry as well as this art. When the two things kind of collide in honour, I can't be anything but happy, thankful, and grateful. Like I'm mad grateful. It's going to be cool.